Okay, so I want to talk about separating your actions versus your feelings and emotions, because I used to have problems with this where I would just, well, linking with food, I would just not be able to say no. Where, on one sense, this was the norm for me, where I would have to finish my whole plate, where if something was in front of me, I had to eat it because my mind was like, why can't I have it? Like, it's like I just want to be happy. And the more times I ate it, the more times I realized that I would feel so good in the moment, but on the larger grand scale of things, I would feel shit about myself. I would beat myself up for it. And then it would be this yo yo cycle of me making amends with myself over the next day. And then I would go back and I would go eat it again. And from one sense, it came from childhood where my parents would just teach me beliefs and values of like where I just have to finish my whole plate, even if I was hungry, even if I was full, I had to eat everything. Even I would eat carbs, all carb diet, and the result of that was that I ended up growing up overweight, and that had its over things of like me being insecure and then shit like this and me comparing myself to people. But that's not the point. The point is that the only time it changed, this eating pattern changed, is when I started questioning and I started educating myself on my nutrition, my exercise, what I should be doing, and my beliefs, because so many of them are automatic. So many of them you don't even question, and you just do them because your family told you so, because your friends told you so. So I want to talk about doing things that you don't want to be doing. And a couple weeks ago, I watched this YouTuber called Layla Hermosi. She's one of the content creators I really look up to. She has businesses and things like this, and she just makes content, and really it's like she gives really good insight. And she finally put words on how I was feeling, where she said that she had to get away from her emotions, from her thoughts, because she was 80 pounds overweight or something, and she realized that in order to achieve a certain goal, and most of the time we know exactly what we have to do in order to get there, if you're educated, and if you know what you have to give up, and if you're willing to give that up. And then it comes down to the question of how much you're willing to give up in order to achieve that, and being realistic with yourself. But basically she knew that she had to lose weight, and what she had to do. So she realized that in the moment she would be craving something, but just because she was craving something, which I really related on, didn't mean she had to eat it. So the first time I said no to food was like a while ago, where I went to Starbucks and I got my usual red velvet muffin in the evenings, whatever, and on purpose I gave it away to my brother instead of eating it myself. And this might not seem so big, but this minor change and these minor consistent changes that you make will build up. But this is the first time I realized that I could say no to food and feel better about myself in the long term. And that made me feel so good about myself, where I was like, wow, like I don't have to eat this just because it's in front of me. Like I don't have, like, just because I go into a grocery store does not mean I have to eat this. And then it's one sense the environment that you're in. I do want to kind of dip my toes into the context of an environment where you can create it for yourself to be as easy as possible, where if you're used to going out with your friends and eating like shit because you always go to restaurants, you can advocate for the idea that you go do something else. Or if you go to a grocery store, there's like this one tip where I read, it's like you go when you're not hungry, or just don't put shit food in your cart so then you don't have it in your house, and then you won't be so motivated to like eat shit. Don't blame your environment. At the end of the day, you are still in control of your actions, so you take accountability for your own actions and the consequences of it, but you can make it easier for yourself, and these are ways you can make it easier for yourself. Also, putting food into like a smaller plate instead of these huge plates you see now. But the point is that a lot of the times, doing shit that you don't want to be doing is what makes at least me feel good about myself. It's what gives me confidence. And don't focus so much about how other people view you, because at the end of the day, you only have yourself. And this might sound really cliche, but when you realize you can say no to things, and not only to other people but to yourself, most importantly, you learn to focus. You feel like you have more confidence about yourself. You feel like you don't let yourself get like disrespected, and then it kind of reflects on other areas of your life. But the reason I really brought up the example of nutrition and exercise is because this is something that I really related on. And this, because I did it in one chapter of my life, I felt like I could do it in other chapters of my life. I felt like I could push myself in like when I'm studying, because I used to never study more than like 30 minutes in the past, because my attention span would just be like, oh, I wanted to go do this, I wanted to go do this, and I was like putting tasks and procrastinating it. And then I was just like, okay, it's my mind telling me that I don't want to do it, so how about I just put it to the side and realize this is what I have to do. Because to kind of put it into words, if back with the nutritional thing, if someone grew up in an environment where they were raised in a healthy manner, they don't even, in adult life, they don't even question the foods that they eat, because this is what they grew up on. But for me, like, I still have these cravings for these unhealthy foods, and I still would eat, like, I could definitely eat like a shit ton of food. But it was when I started controlling myself, and kind of in my mind it still plays, like food is still playing in my mind, even though it's harder for me to achieve it compared to the person that grew up in this healthy manner. We could still have the same results, but it's going to be harder for me. And I realized that this is just how it's going to be, and instead of making excuses of, oh, like, that's just unfair, like, I just had to deal with it and just stuck it up. Okay, it's going to be harder for me, so I have to accept it. But at the end of the day, we come out with the same result, or, well, obviously not the same result, but I'm just generalizing here. But it is about being consistent, and also having the mindset of it is what it is. So you're going to mess up, and that's normal. You're going to make mistakes, and I still make mistakes. There's still days when I eat like relatively bad, and you can see here I'm like really focusing on nutrition, because this is something that is like kind of a big part of my life. But I still have these days where I mess up, and it's normal. Instead of beating yourself up for it, just say it is what it is, and make amends with yourself and educate yourself on how can you prevent that from happening next time. And ask yourself these uncomfortable questions of, oh, like, is this my mind craving it, or is this me actually being hungry? And if this is me hungry, why would I want to put this in my body instead of that over in my body? Am I going to regret this after? Is this me sticking to my goals? Like, are my goals really worth it? Like, is this what I actually want to achieve? Like, why do I want to lose weight? Asking yourself these questions. Like, pick up a camera, and this is just a side note, pick up a camera, and if you don't know yourself, just start talking to yourself and start journaling and verbalizing and understanding things about yourself and what you want to do and how you want to live and why you want to achieve what you want to achieve. And this will really set straight things with yourself, because this will give you the platform to be like, okay, so then what is it I have to do in order to achieve these goals? It kind of makes it more clear for yourself of what you have to do in order to get there. And then you can start asking yourself these questions when you feel like you're in a hard moment of, oh, like, I just really can't be asked to go to the gym today. Why can't you be asked to go to the gym today? You know? So it is really about being harsh on yourself. And for some people, that's just not the way they want to live life, and I completely respect that. But personally, for me, that's what makes me feel good about myself. It's when I do shit that I don't want to be doing. It's when I kind of overcome my emotions and feelings, because I understand that most of the time, actually not sometimes, most of the times, they're not correct. Most of the times my emotions and feelings are guarding me the wrong way, and sometimes they're like spontaneous and unexpected, and it's really hard to balance things and knowing what it is you have to do, what's right. But again, your feelings also should come into emotions, because like to a certain extent of like what career path you want to do and what you actually find interesting and what is realistic for you to stick to with a diet, or realistic, that's a whole different topic. But once again, it is about understanding yourself, and it is about knowing what your goals are and what you have to do there. And the question does lay of how much you're willing to give up and how much you're willing to sacrifice. So yeah, I want to end it on this note. Not a long video today, but hopefully you guys learned something today.